Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew First Culture podcast. This is Jeremy again, and I want to say, as always, thank you very much for spending some time with us today. Us, as in, I've got a guest, and anybody out there that's heard here lately, it's probably a welcome sight because it's been a little while since I've had a guest. So I'm excited. I've got my friend Mitch Huner here. Do you go by Mitch or Mitchell?
Yeah, Mitch usually.
Okay, I was just making sure because
Right.
I've had that question in my mind and I've never asked it. So Mitch Huner, who is the Fire Maul guy, obviously, hopefully you've seen some of his products out there at the very least if you haven't had them in your hands. But so how you doing, Mitch?
I'm doing great. Doing great. Staying very busy. I guess I wouldn't
Yeah.
have it any other way. I decided to come back in the shop. I kicked my guys out to film back here because this is where all the action is. Got good problems. Selling more product than we keep in stock, those sorts of things, and just trying to work through the kind of growing phase of the company as we progress. But the way I like it. So it's all good. We're doing good.
Do you, since we're there, just go off with that? Do you feel like that's kind of is that I know nationwide, that the whole supply chain thing is an issue.
Sure.
Is the entire tool kind of the fire service, all the tool companies, are they all kind of facing the same things, or is it just because you're getting into a very new tool that had to start that process all
Sure.
over?
I think in general, everybody's dealing with it. Chris Moran, my friend over there from Lone Star Axe Pig Tool, he's dealing with handles. Nupula, not I guess maybe not making handles as much, or downsizing and not making, dealing with that. Mine is probably a little bit of both. You end up getting lead times that were just double, triple what you're used to, and then trying to make adjustments to deal with it. I switched everything over to a forging instead of a casting because I felt I had some quality control issues with casting, and then doing that on top of the manufacturing, basically backups, has been, I guess, a challenge to deal with, and we're still dealing with it today. Even going on 3 years later, we're still finding lead times to not be exactly what we're used to. And then go ahead and throw in an all new product on top of it. It's forging a Halligan bar, and I'm sure there's some companies out there that have tried forging Halligan bars before, and I'm sure some of them are kind of going, yeah, I told you so, in their head, why they didn't take it on. There was plenty of companies that didn't want to take on the project, and some of them said, we've tried something like this before and weren't able to get it done. So it's it's a growing and learning process for everybody involved.
I was just thinking about this yesterday because can't remember what I was doing, but I just have come across several different tool brands here lately of Halligan style tools, and it just occurred to me that there are a lot of people out there making Halligan style tools, I will say, because I don't know that term really applies to some of them.
Right.
But the interesting thing that kind of occurred to me was they all, almost to a T, except for maybe one or two, they all are very, very similar to a Halligan. They don't really add any. There's nothing different about it. You know what I mean? There's nothing that draws you to, oh, well, maybe this is a better option because of so and so. It's just maybe a cheaper version of a Pro Bar or whatever else. And so I think that's pretty cool about what you're doing is you're not making tools that are out there.
No.
You are really innovating what maybe categories are out there, but really creating your own thing in all of them. And so that's something I've really appreciated with you and your company is there's always a why, I guess, is probably the best way I could say it. And that's big to me. I'm a big why guy, and so I've heard you discuss several times, and this is mainly a an audio format here, so you won't have the aid of Halligan's and things like that to point it out. But it just me saying that, is that kind of a big driving force to what you're doing and where different directions you head?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, from the get go, before if you would ask me when I started this company if I've ever be designing a Halligan bar, I would have told you no. You know, my tuned pro bar I had worked just fine.
Yeah.
But I did initially come out with a more effective maul for the fire service. I wanted it to be a heavy irons maul, something that wasn't really available. And then so we just progressed from there. But the goal has always been to provide increased capabilities of what is not already available. And as those tools, even my original Fire Maul was developed, and then we progressed into kind of redesigning it. You keep kind of learning these things as you go and learning the effectiveness of a tool, and it allows you to generate the next version, the Mauler, now the pick-headed Reaper. We realized that blade system works so good for both forcible entry and for roof work, a blade that can puncture material but not get stuck because of the way the shoulders kind of act as a pivot point to roll out of the cut. And it just continues to develop and then transition into, well, if I'm redesigning my original Fire Maul, because we were in a situation where we kind of had to, we wanted to move to a new manufacturer. Why don't we make an irons? Well, why would I do a Halligan bar? Well, what are some of the things I've learned over the years for, doing forcible entry? Why do I always have to rotate my adze away from the spike? Why don't we move that spike down a little bit? Gosh, well, I drive with my Halligan bar an awful lot sometimes when just either doing overhaul or even driving a blade of a tool. Why not put a sledge face on there? And just those little things. You know what? I want to make stuff. I try to make stuff that for situations that gets us into trouble, right? It's not your standard door. Easy residential door that gets us into trouble. It's those confined space, those 30-inch hallways or bottom stairwells. Well, what do I want for that situation? Well, a shorter Halligan bar would be nice for that situation. I got a little more room. I can actually strike it if I had to. And then going through the kind of prototype phase, our Halligan bar we're releasing now is not version 1, it's version 3, 4, and realizing, shoot, this 26 inches is nice because it's compact, but I don't have the mechanical advantage I'm used to getting. I can't roll this 2-inch adze very well. Well, shoot, let's cut it down. Let's go down to 1.5 inch adze, and we do that, and then, oh man, I'm rolling this thing a lot easier than I did my pro bar. I'm getting a gap a lot faster. So it's always been a work in process, and just. That's what I really love about doing this is putting out, Fire Maul Tools, innovative solutions is because we're trying to push the envelope and get away from what the fire service has always been, which is adoptive culture. We adopt tools, and you can go back and look at why that is. You can look at the labor practices back then of our culture of taking the job that nobody wanted, right? Nobody wanted this job. So, what are those people going to be given? They're going to be given whatever's already available. It's not like it's a highly funded, sought out opportunity. It is, it was true grit. It was hard men doing a hard job and using whatever tools were available. And that's what kind of pushed us to get the job done no matter what, and cultivate our culture of adapt and overcome and still using pike poles and flathead axes.
6 pound axes.
Right. So we've been amazing at developing techniques using those things. I mean, I give a tool science presentation. I say when I'm talking about like a pig head axe, trust me, there's guys in Chicago that make a pig head axe sing, man. They can throw it out, twist it, get their boot underneath it, pop it right back up like nothing. And those guys are amazing. You want to learn from those guys. But I think if we keep kind of developing and innovating, we're only going to make the job better.
Yeah.
I try to. It's what really drives me is providing increased capabilities, but also, I mean, the model of always leave it better than you found it, and that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And something, and since you said that, you know what, I gave you a couple of questions that I would kind of like to start digging in with people when I have on, and just to get to know them more as individuals. And that's the last one on there is what inspires and drives you the most. And so since you just said it, is that basically it? Just trying to do your part to make everybody else's job easier, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. I've said it all the time, leave it better than you found it. And I think no matter what occupation I would have been in, I've always been restless. I've always never really gone with the flow. Probably why in this occupation, I maybe I'd maybe I haven't advanced my career as fast as I should. I don't always go with the flow, right? And so I think no matter what I would have been in, I would have at least been trying to figure out a way to make it better. It's just through this, I've kind of learned my knack of visualizing things in a physical space and how they interact, and I've kind of discovered that as I went along. But the whole point of this is it to make money. I hope someday, hopefully,
Yeah.
right? I've worked way too damn hard for it.
Yeah.
My wife could tell you the same thing. Worked too hard for it not to. And if it doesn't, we just had our Fire Maul dinner. I try to take the guys out somewhere, nice 5-star restaurant at least once a year, spend all the money on dinner. And even if it's just that, we get to go out to dinner once a year, spend all the money, have the best food, and then still leave it better than we found it, then it's all worth it. And I think our occupation is starting to really go away from, those, and I'm not trying to put anybody out here, but the original, those gritty men, those hardworking men this job used to be. And trust me, there's women in this job that can run circles around me, that is for sure. But I think it's starting to be an occupation that's filled by whether it's hiring practices or whatever. It's not necessarily these super tough, super strong people. It's we do need to hire. Again, we get into hiring practices, but sometimes it's Joe Schmo off the street, taking the job, and maybe he's not as physically capable, and those sorts of things. So a lot of that it also drives what this is, and leaving it better than you found it, but allowing those people to effectively do their job. And especially when you get into those things that get us in trouble. Well, how do we deal with that? Can I muscle a door? Sure, I can. Can I put a tool in place that works a little bit better and make it a little bit easier? Yes, I can. So yeah, to come around, that's really what drives me. I really enjoy learning kind of better way of doing things, and you hit it on the head, answering the why. We've also gotten away from a culture of this is how you do it, and that's the way we do it. It's how we kind of all came up in this job doing, and I've never really been satisfied with that. I want to know why. Why do you do it that way? And
me, same with me. I hate that. I feel like that's almost given place in the fire service for a huge knowledge gap. You had those generations that's what it was. You were told what to do. You were told not to ask questions, just do what you're told. Well, then when it's your turn, step up and teach. And we're finally coming into some generations that aren't okay with it. We don't have a why behind anything. It's just that whole statement that everybody hates. It's how we always done it. That's where it came. That's where we don't have any other answer because we weren't given that answer. And so, and I feel like that's kind of been, I've been on 20 years. I feel like I'm right on both sides of that. I came on with that mentality of you do it because this is what we do, and that's it. And now, trying to become somebody who is, like you said, doing things to make fire service better and all that. Well, I had to have a real conversation with myself that I don't know anything. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, there is nothing relevant I know. I've got to basically start all the way over. And this was just, a few years ago.
Right.
And I think that's the cause of it. We weren't given true instructions and really got into the details of the job, and all that got lost.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're having to kind of make it up, as we go to catch up again. But I feel the same way for sure. Something else that I've heard that you've talked about is the made in the USA. That's a big thing for you. I know that you have talked about kind of the complications added because that's a priority for you in this whole process. It's made everything a lot harder and probably a lot longer and all that, but you still stuck with it. Just talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because that is kind of one of my driving factors too. I mean, I recently, on some of our banners and stuff, when you go to trade shows and some of the, I guess, cut sheets or flyers and thank you letters we put out, I put on there, FMT, do the hard things, fighting for Made in USA. It's kind of like a little logo we put on there. And because it's been a fight, man. It has been a fight, getting what we want built and forged and made here in the USA. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, a lot of USA manufacturers or companies don't want to do business with you unless you say, hey, I need 5,000 of these, I need 10,000 of these, right? Some of my smaller items have been easier. I'm big. All my steel products are forged or stamped or whatever. It is manufactured here in the USA. We have steel quality that comes into play in that. And in fact, our TSR product, the handle, the collars, the end cap, the head, the Halligan bar is all made here in the USA. And that took a lot of work and it took a lot of investment to do so. I think it probably could have been easier if some of these companies that are USA manufactured, especially the handle companies, if they wanted to, step up and make something. But again, you look at like Nupla. Nupla is like one of the few handle companies in the US. They always want to push you to the sledgehammer handle they already make. No, I need it made this way. Can we make it this way? How much does that cost? And they never really want to give you pricing because they don't really want to do it. I wish, there's Dasco Pro, Leatherhead Tools, they're all kind of under the same umbrella, but they're a handle company too. And I wish we would all kind of work together and step up and, hey, we need this made. Let's work together. Let's get it made. And that doesn't necessarily happen because you get worried about competition and those sorts of things. And sure, we might be competition for each other, but I think that the whole umbrella of this thing is the fire service and doing what's right for the fire service. So I wish in those situations, companies would step up and help out. But sometimes when you don't have buying power, you got to do with what you can. And I'll tell you right now, our single bit axes, our composite handles, we have to get those imported. Those are not made here. I wish they were. And that's because of those challenges. We recently, again, I don't want to get into pricing too much, but when I tried to price those out to have those made here, you're looking at $196,000 in tooling. So, okay, now I need to get another mortgage on my house. It's just not doable for a small company.
Yeah,
not doable.
Oh yeah.
So, can we get there someday if we all kind of work together? Maybe, hopefully. I don't know, but that is the part of the fight, and that is what I'm big on, because you think about some of the biggest tool manufacturers in the fire service, and where are those hand tools made? They're not made here. If it doesn't
Yeah.
have a USA stamp on it, made in USA, or at least a USA stamp on it, if it doesn't have it on any of their website or anywhere else, guess what? It's not made here, because that's something you're definitely going to advertise.
Yeah. No, for sure. And that's, these things I really want to share with everybody because, and we're about to get into kind of, who you are more, but for me, and there are just a few kind of people and companies like this, but for me, I love obviously tools and training resource, whatever, everything. I love the things that they're good, that work great and functional and all this. And me, like anybody else, you tend to have your favorites and all that. But when I find things that are really good, like a good tool or a good prop or whatever, and you get to know these people behind the product, and they're great people as well, that for me is just it's just a deal breaker. It's that's all I need to know.
Sure.
I really enjoy just trying to do anything I can to help people and companies like that. And you've kind of touched on the whole companies helping companies thing too, but that's I think it's a big deal, because there are a lot of companies out there that are just, they're basically faceless. There's nobody really anywhere that you could see doing it. You know what I mean? It's a big company or whatever else, but to truly have a face or a handful of faces behind the product and be able to get to know these people and see who they really are, and that to me is a big thing. And I will say that, got to meet you and your wife Paloma for the first time at the lake of the Ozarks last July, and then lucky enough to actually sit down to dinner with you two, with my family, a couple of my kids, and you were gracious enough to put up with that. So I was very thankful.
Oh,
But it's just great to be able to do that. You know what I mean? And see the people behind the product. And so I really appreciate that and want to share that as well.
Thank you. And I think it's probably something I need to do more often. We get so busy trying to keep up and get orders out and quote unquote put out fires here and there.
Yeah.
And I don't take the time to do the videos I should, because I don't got time to edit them or this and that. And I think I am going to gravitate more to just going live and just talking
Yeah.
and just going over what's going on. And I think hopefully that's received well. I think it is, and I wish maybe more of companies in our situation would do the same. And I wish even these bigger companies, and hopefully I don't lose that as we grow, because I think you think of some of these major companies, you're right, they don't have a face. They have no face whatsoever. They're a separate own entity. It's just this giant corporation that just anyway. So hopefully we can continue to do that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked about the company and the tools. Tell us a little bit about you, where you're at, what you've done kind of fire service wise, whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. I think, I started as a fireman just after high school. I think I remember in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Right. And it's like, definitely wasn't looking for a desk job by any means. I think I was either going to go in the Marine Corps and never really bid on that, and ended up just going to a fire academy, get some classes in, and join a part-time department, and then was full-time on that department. But then my restless leg syndrome kicked in, and just kind of looking for more. And I started doing contract fire department. I did a couple years in Iraq. I did a couple years in Curacao. So I was basically working for a company covering fire protection on air bases, in Iraq, Marine base, Army base, and Air Force base in Curacao. And that was interesting. It was fun. Iraq was very interesting. Curacao was in the Caribbean, was fun to live for a while, but I wasn't doing, I guess, what I really set out to do, which was be a fireman. I missed fighting fire. I missed, the real excitement of the job. And yeah, you know, being on top of a roof when a house is on fire, you know, that wasn't happening, right? Um, so lucky enough, you know, Chicago finally called 8 years after I took their test. Uh, very long
Wow.
process, and
Yeah.
a list that got delayed. So 2013, you know, I came to Chicago. Been a fireman, obviously here ever since, particularly on the south side, now on Truck 30 Woodlawn neighborhood. Um, Nice busy company, see a good amount of fire. Not as much as I'd like, you know, it comes and goes like everything. Um, and just, and it's allowed me to do, again, even though I was left the contracting and, you know, hold on, left my original apartment because I got restless, did the contracting, got restless, and then came to Chicago and all right, Chicago fireman, here we are, I'm set. And then I get a little restless. But it's allowed me to do the things I do now, and find a true passion, and what we touched on earlier, found me a way to leave it better than I found it, and improve not only tool capabilities, but hopefully health and safety, and things in the job that really is designed to kill us, whether it's the danger itself,
Yeah.
uh, you know, the sleep, the sleep that we don't get, and the chemicals we're exposed to. Hopefully we can try to limit that a little bit, as we progress. So, but yeah, and then this company's been my life nonstop. It's gotten a lot better with not overworking myself, particularly in the last 2 to 3 years. But prior to that, yeah, it was nonstop and just making this thing work, working it and making it work, and just trying to put my passion into it. But then, if anybody's ever started their own company, you realize in the beginning it's you and you're everything.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully, I kind of over the hump of putting the make or break moments behind us, and just keep doing what we do.
So when did you start Fire Maul?
Yeah, so I came on Chicago Fire Department 2013, in the field 2014. And Fire Maul came from, you know, I always used I'm sure people may have heard this before, if they haven't, I always used a splitting maul. You know, I don't know if you're going to post this, but I recently recovered my original. It was missing for a while. It was left at a lake house, and Aunt had it for a while, and this and that. But, you know, I had a splitting maul, and I favored it for its ability to both strike and chop and cut. But it didn't do everything I needed it to do. I couldn't capture progress. I couldn't kind of pry with it and do overhaul with it. And it was just those thoughts that was, how come nobody's really made a maul for the fire service? You know, you had the TNT tool out there, and it really just didn't have the weight I want, didn't work the way I wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get too deep into some of the design features that ended up driving into the Fire Maul, but again, it just didn't do the things I wanted to do. And it was a conversation with actually my wife, my beautiful wife Paloma, her friend we were getting dinner with. At the time, I think she worked for a big company, Caterpillar. And I was just telling her, oh, I kind of have an idea for something, but you know, maybe someday when I have money, I'll make a prototype or something. And she just looked me dead in the face and said, "Why not now?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not now? You know, why not now?" And the next thing you know, you're looking up patents and trying to find a patent lawyer and putting sketches and then just jumping in and just taking the leap, taking the risk, and next thing you know, you're maxing out credit cards and getting prototypes made. And that was 2000. That wasn't too far into. That was 2016. So I'd been in Chicago a couple of years, but I just knew we could do something better. So that was 2016. We sold the first Fire Maul. Or started shipping the first Fire Mauls 2017, and just progressing since then.
Yeah. So you talked about your time overseas. That's pretty interesting. You know, I don't know that I've really heard that kind of that experience from anybody else. Is there anything you brought back from that has kind of, I don't know, helped you in your career
Yeah,
or
I mean,
interesting or anything like that?
an ability to work with a multitude of type of people. That was, you get in a fire department around you, or particularly maybe in a certain area of the United States, maybe you're used to a certain type of people, and there you got guys from all over, and they're given station assignments for a year, typically a year contract, whatever. And you learn to work with people from all over, and you learn that a lot of us are very similar. Sure, we're all going to have people that we don't work with exceptionally well, right? But we're all kind of very similar people, and I try to use some of those experiences, if maybe you do have somebody you're not working so great with, and to realize that we are kind of all the same people. We're all in this together, and try to remember that, and then also be thankful for what I have, no matter what. To be honest, there's guys that do contracts and keep doing contracts, and you don't have the Iraq thing as much anymore, but there's other private contracts out there on 1-year contracts, and you're traveling, and I honestly never truly enjoyed it. The money, either the money was good or where you're stationed was good, but I didn't have the station, sort of maybe this same station camaraderie of fighting fire, those sorts of things, of actually being in danger at times, yeah, I don't know. So I was happy to be where I am, and thankful where I am now, and need to take a step back and remind myself of how good we have it now, even if I am pulling my hair out that doesn't exist. So.
Yeah, that, like I said, it's just interesting, and I'm sure it does kind of bring things in perspective. It seems to me like a drawback, kind of what you were talking about just now, that firehouse atmosphere. It almost have like just a very temporary feel, like, oh, this crew is going to be here for a certain amount of months, and then it's going to be somebody else, and then I'm going to be gone, and just no
Right.
real concrete to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely guys that came and went, and also, I've made friends for life too. I mean, I'll give my buddy Mike Shipley, and it took us about I shouldn't say too much, but it took me about 2 weeks to be best friends with that guy, because there might have been a tussle at a bar involved, and that guy was right in there, So, maybe younger, too full of testosterone, Mitch, but. That guy had my back from day one, and we still, we talk to this day. But it doesn't mean there wasn't that, but it's definitely very different, maybe almost corporate. We're just here trying to make the best of it, and not, there's something that happens when you are with guys that, and you're, I don't want to talk this up too much, but you're fighting fire. You're in dangerous situations at times, and working your ass off, and kind of, hot, sweaty, tired, nasty fire. And there's something that happens when you go through that with somebody, I think, that brings you a little bit closer. And even on some of the stuff we deal with, some of the emotional side of things that we deal with, and then being with people for a lot longer, and seeing them go through the highs and lows in their lives, and even our own lives, and it just really, I think, makes it more of a brotherhood.
Yeah. That's that. I think kind of what you're explaining right there is a lot of what drives me. Just creating that culture that, man, we love being together. I mean, I've seen so many crews that are just kind of, they're here and there. You can see a couple of them around, but they're the others. The only time you see them is at dinner time, and all of this, and just working hard to create that environment, that family environment. That's been something that I've really enjoyed. So that kind of speaks to me as well.
And I need to be better about it, to tell you the truth.
Do you do?
I do. I mean, I try to, like I said, the business is a little bit better, but when it was, and I want to get myself in trouble here, but you know, when you're dealing with it, it's all your folks. How about, well, you know, then your station life did you know, sacrifice a little bit. And I got a great group of guys that, you know, maybe give me a little bit more slack than somebody else, or maybe they're helping out a little bit more with the meals, you know, because I'm calling somebody or this and that.
Yeah.
But I definitely could, and we all probably could get a lot better.
Oh yeah.
I'm checking my phone because somebody commented on Fire Maul or something, and I'm trying to get a lot better, just putting that thing away and just,
Yeah.
hey, you're at the firehouse, you're at the firehouse.
Yeah. Well, the you mentioned earlier about you would like to get to where you're putting out more videos, and I just saw you kind of release quite a few of them. Is that something you just recently did, or did I just happen to see them last
No,
night?
I just recently did it. It's
Okay.
again, I was in you know, sometimes you're doing some testing or you're doing some playing, and I got, you know, I got Todd Shepard's Forge and Fire door here, or Alpha Forge and Fire Alpha door here, and more often than not, I'll spend time just doing reps, right? Because I have the capability here, and I'm testing different things and trying new techniques and stuff, and I do that probably quite a bit, and I need to learn to turn on the camera,
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
working on those techniques and showing those techniques, and stop waiting for it to be super polished, and just
Yeah.
get done and share that message more. So, you know, I just grabbed a tripod, grabbed my phone, and just started recording and talking about some of those techniques that I have found to be the most effective, especially obviously with implementing my tools and how they work, but I
Yeah.
found it to be more effective. So, you know, instead of waiting until we have quality lighting and two cameras and an angle I can cut off to here while I'm, so because I've trust me, I have done that, and I have film that's probably set to go somewhere that I just never edited.
Yeah. Yeah.
Know? And I think it actually comes off, and I think it's a little more real, either
Oh
live
yeah.
or just something that was literally the day before, and then I released it the next day, you know, and it was just, you know, it was reels on Instagram. But I just, all right,
Yeah.
here, do four, didn't, you know, because you can only do a minute and a half, so I was like, let me do 4 of them. We'll make it part 1, part 2, you know, but
Yeah.
at least get to walk you through the whole process. So
No, that's kind of what I was going to say with this with this part of the conversation is I enjoyed those a lot. You know, yeah, they're quick, but it's just to the point. No, you have a specific thing you're trying to show us, and you get in there and you do it. And you know, I don't. It might be more eye catching if you sit there and spend the time to add some better lighting or this and that, or add some motivating soundtrack in the background. But man, that's all that I need, you know, just listening to you. And I think that's another thing that I want to say is to maybe encourage you to keep going with that, because you know, as somebody that has done some instructing of forcible entry, I have been, I guess you can call it, raised under some super smart people. You know, I've been had the blessing of really being taught from some really great people. But hearing you go through and kind of talk your way through what you were doing makes me feel like, gosh, dang, I don't need to be doing it. I don't need to be doing anything in front of people. I don't have the way with words in that area as you do. And I think that really shows your passion and your knowledge in the topic or in this subject is how you go about and how you can just clearly communicate what you're doing and talking about.
I appreciate that, and I'm glad that that's coming across. I think part of that comes from, you know, what we never got before, which was the why. Well, why am I driving my forks, you know, 6 to 8 inches from my lock? Because it's what we've always done, you know. And a lot of those techniques were developed, you know, back in the day when I had fat forks, and that's the reason. If I'm going to put something in there, it's going to be hard to get in there. We might as well put it close to lock, because then it's going to be the most effective. And you know, I could talk about that all day, but I think a lot of what you're seeing, and hopefully I can put out more, is what I've gone through when I was trying to answer my why, and when I was, as simple as taking a wedge shaped blade to capture progress, that ended up, that developed over time with how effective the Fire Maul design ended up being for that. But my reasoning for that is, if you think about it, every other thing we do in the fire service, anytime we're lifting anything, we crib it, and we have something there that's going to kind of keep capturing our progress for us, whether it's airbags or chocks or cribbing. And so anyway, that's kind of like me kind of talking through the thought process of why I do it that way. And it's because I'm shoring up my plane that I'm trying to move past the jam, right? My object I need to lift, my object I need to create enough pressure to create enough distance. And it's me kind of how I guess my mind works, which I don't know how normal that is or not.
For the job you're doing, I'd say it's pretty okay. So
okay, good.
Another one of these questions that I think a lot of value can be found sometimes for other people is there any specific or particular mistake you've made or failure you've had that you've had to kind of overcome, challenge you faced, whatever it is that you can really point to as in almost a turning point or something that just shouts out, this really kind of changed the way I think or my life or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, in particular, I guess to some degree, I've always believed I'd be really good at something. It just took me 30 years to figure out what that is, and that comes from, I always thought I would be one hell of a wrestler. Well, I was an okay wrestler. I thought I'd have some more God-given talent than I actually did. Now, if I would have paired that talent with a lot harder work, or maybe focused on my hard work a little bit more, I don't know what you want to call it, but because of that belief, maybe I didn't cut weight like I should have, because I'm so good, I don't need to cut weight, and then being humbled in those situations and just being okay, and then putting all that work in and just being okay, but continuing to work anyway, right? Failing and continuing to work anyway, because I'd rather look at my life in the end and go, well, at least I tried, and that even falls into Fire Maul. At least I tried, and that's just putting out, doing the greatest job you can at making the job better, or putting out the best product or content or effort you possibly can, regardless of if you're going to fail or not. It's the effort that I care about. I mean, you take maybe a fireman that's not a very good fireman, hopefully we can coach him, as long as he's putting out the effort. That's all I give a shit about. So my failures in some aspects of my life, I think, have driven me to remember that and to continue to just keep going. You're not always going to win, but just keep going. And now I if I tie this into a manufacturing standpoint, we don't always win, right? And mistakes I may have made is thinking that things are always going to go smoothly, is thinking that I could design a product and U.S. manufacturing will be able to get it done overnight, or it's going to go just like the engineers thought it was going to go. And you know what? Doesn't always happen. We have to develop further. Oh, we need to increase our we need to buy better equipment, bigger equipment to get it done. And I'm still learning, definitely. And I think currently in the Halligan production, we're all still learning. And hopefully I need to start adding lead times to every lead time I'm given, right? Because, if anything, I'm passing on our best hope or our best guess or things go smoothly guess, and we need to start passing on the things don't go smoothly guess. But I think it still ties into just moving forward, always forward. I think I said that after my last email update I sent out to all my customers.
Mm-hmm.
It's forward. always forward. And that's all we can do is put out the best product at the highest quality and just keep innovating and just keep putting that product out there and that effort forward.
Yeah. It's interesting, you mentioned being a great wrestler, and why I say it's interesting is because it feels like I'm dealing with 3 or 4 different things in my life in totally different areas that keep coming back to this one central topic, and that's basically your purpose, or your gift, or whatever, however you want to define it. But why are you here, type thing. And my daughter, Kylie, that you
Mhm.
met, she's
She's
super fun.
hilarious,
I
by the
mean,
way.
yeah, her personality, I wish came from me, but it absolutely did not come from me. But she just naturally has the ability to make people smile and just entertain people. And so outside of that, simultaneously, she wants so badly to be a good athlete.
Mm.
And just all the energy she has balled up inside her, it makes it hard for her to be a really good athlete, because she's just so, she's so amped up, and she just can't focus. And that's something I've kind of told her lately. If for some reason it just kind of came to me, I was like, you need to be the mascot. You would love that. You would have a good time. And I 100% believe that everybody would love watching you. You would be
Right,
hilarious.
right.
But man, she just can't get over the fact that she wants to be a good athlete, and even kind of started getting upset that
Yeah,
I was basically giving up on her, or anything like that. And I kept telling her, man, it's not about that. It's about, what are you putting, what are you pouring yourself into?
right.
I get it. You enjoy sports, and I'm not saying, stop,
Mm-mm.
but you're putting all of this of yourself into something that is probably not really going to do anything for you. It doesn't have anything that's going to feed you, but you have these gifts that everybody can see. Oh, I'm just trying to help you see that if we start putting yourself into these gifts, and really start focusing on those things, everything is going to start happening in the way it's supposed to, because you're going to enjoy things so much better. If you're going to be better at what you're doing, everybody else is going to be, better because of what you're doing. And so it's just a huge picture. And I think that's so important for everybody out there, that if you don't know what that is, if you don't know what your purpose is, looking back at a young Mitch, or even me, I was the same with baseball.
Yeah.
I was just barely good enough to play college baseball, and that was it. I had no chance further than that. And so when that was over, like I told Kylie, that was it. I had no other options. So then what? But if you start chasing after what you are here for, what makes you happy, what you do really well and really easy, that's when things really start to snowball, and good things start happening. So it's just interesting that everything ties in. Is that kind of
Yeah,
what you
no,
feel
I
like your
say,
story is?
yeah, learn to play to your strengths. I mean, I didn't even mention, football. That was another thing. No matter how hard I worked, I was still small and slow. Like, there's no talent that's
Yeah.
gonna fix that. It's, and
Can't coach size and speed.
right, it doesn't happen. So, and learning to, again, learning to accept that to some degree, and maybe if you don't want to leave it and move on to something else, at least learn to just have fun with it and stop putting
Yeah.
so much pressure on yourself. It's such a small, if I can pass anything on to, maybe she can hear it from somebody else other than her father, but
Yeah.
school is a short period of time in your life, and it's not the end all be all. So, um, or if I would have remembered to play to my strengths earlier, if I would have maybe focused on wrestling instead of doing football, I don't know what that looks like, but um, learn to play to those strengths earlier, I probably would have been a lot happier instead of just putting all this pressure on yourself to perform when sometimes you just don't have the genetics to do it. So anyway, and like I said, it took me maybe 30 some odd years to realize that I do have an engineer's brain, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's another thing about it is, I'm probably around the same as far as going through life for way too long, really before I knew what the heck I needed to be doing. You know what I mean? I luckily I found the fire service and got involved with that. But it was a ways into that before I really even kind of found my lane. And so since that point, I enjoy the job so much more. I enjoy, everything so much more. It's helped me not only at work, but it's helped me at home as well. And so
mhm.
really, really trying to figure out where that is and what you can add to the world. That's where we really start making a difference. And I think, you've mentioned it several times, but that's the great thing about people like you is they're not just putting out product to have a job. You're not doing it because you're wanting a part-time job.
Right.
It's about something deeper and bigger than that. And so that's the stuff I really enjoy sharing.
Yeah, I agree. And thank you. I'm glad I'm glad that's being received by everybody, that is the effort here, or at least the goal here. And I think whether it's this or whatever else you're doing in life, if you could just try to take a deep breath, realize that you're trying as hard as you can and doing the best you can, and take some of the pressure off of you, your own selves, you're gonna be happier, and you're gonna do better at what you're doing if you just breathe and go, hey, I'm doing the best I can, and,
Yeah.
and that's good. Don't doubt that, because whatever you're doing, it is good, so.
Yeah. And that's something else that I would like to have another voice, kind of like you said for Kylie, another voice besides yours. I've been to the shop. I've watched kind of your journey pretty closely and been a part of the rep team for a little bit. Just kind of what I see from you. I know there's a lot of people out there really, really wanting a tool in their hand. And I know just equally as much you would love to get that tool in their hand. But I will say, from what I've seen, there is 0% of Mitch Huner that is slow playing at this. You are putting everything you have into it, and I know that as soon as things can get caught up, you're going to be doing everything you can. So definitely want to share that with everybody, because I know, well, I don't know. I'm sure a lot more behind the scenes stuff of frustration people are feeling, but I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are frustrated and kind of getting to the point where, maybe they want to do something different. But
Right.
I will say that, that product is a great product, just like it was when you prepaid for it. And as much as it might suck to have to wait a little bit longer, it's definitely going to be worth it. And these guys are doing a great job at putting some great stuff out there as fast as they can. So I wanted to make sure that I said that, because I know there's some people out there that need to hear it for sure.
And it's been 2 years, man. It's been 2 years. More than that, really. Let's see, March, end of February, March 2020, we launched pre-orders for an idea. And I touched on maybe, talking about some of the mistakes and thinking things would go smoothly. But it's not only been mistakes, it's been developed. Originally we set out for this thing to be a cast tool steel product. We prototyped in cast tool steel.
And I gotta say, I broke one of those, so I felt really bad, because I knew they were expensive.
What's happening here? That ain't, and split the fork completely off.
Yeah.
And not at the tip, at the back. And now cast products from a production standpoint probably are better than prototype because they have gate valves and how it's filled and everything is probably done differently with a poured steel product. But it was enough for us to go, no,
Yeah.
no. Because no matter what steel we tried, it just couldn't put up with the abuse that we were going to put these things through. So then it's been back to that fight of keeping it made in the USA and finding somebody to forge it. How many forging companies looked at that thing and said, nope. It's pretty wild. And the fact that we're actually getting it done is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And that fight, we almost lost that fight of made in the USA. In fact, when I couldn't find a forge shop to take it on, there was a overseas company willing to make it. At one point, they had a purchase order from me because I couldn't find somebody else until Ajax stepped up. Now, hindsight, if we would have known the development of this would have taken so long, do I wish that I just had product on the street? I don't know. I go back and forth. I think I still like sticking to my guns. I still like that mission that we're putting forward of fighting for made in the USA. I think if we look at the direction of the economy, the globe in general, and how important I think that may be for us in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, bringing manufacturing home to be able to build our own stuff. I think I'm still glad we've pushed and let the development take place, no matter how long it takes to get there. And it's still being done today. And we're starting to ship a few more. We're packing up a few more today and starting to ship them out. And I look forward to these next 2-3 months to kind of get a lot of these tools finally out. And I hope the wait has been worth it. I know it's been challenging for a lot of people, but I went over the hill with a lot of the people have been waiting for a long time, going on 2 years now. And I think most people now understand. And, at this point, we've offered refunds. If you don't want to wait anymore, we get it. Yeah. We couldn't do that initially because the development cost so much. But I think we've gotten over, and everybody at this point, they'll just wait for it when it gets here. And I think most people understand. And that's meant a lot to me because, trust me, there has been a lot of sleepless nights, trying to get this done, and a lot of even fights between me and my wife because of the stress that is put out. So, but we're getting there, man. We're finally getting. So it's been a long road, and I thankfully I can look back and kind of enjoy, to some degree, enjoy the challenges and enjoy the grit that it's taken to get here.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said right there, just in the process, the standing firm with your mission when it would have been easier, maybe cheaper, definitely faster to go another route. But what are you looking at? You're looking at changing who you are, who your company is, if you do that. And so that's a great story to share, just because of everything that you've had to put into this to stand on what you wanted to stand on and not deviate from that. So that's great. That's great to share. There's a lot of people out there that for a lot less, they're throwing in that compromise, man. They're ready to go, send me in an easier direction or a quicker direction. And so as soon as you do that, you're leaning away from everything else that brought you to that point. So that's great, man.
I was just going to say the larger picture too is not just for me and my company, but just innovation in general, USA manufacturing in general, the bigger picture of developing that so that we can make this stuff here. And I'm not saying there's not some larger forge shops that have larger equipment that probably could have made this thing with a giant forge and a giant one single die, and maybe they could, but you need buying power to do that. You need, demand to do that. That's the
Yeah.
whole goal here is developing the demand, and the demand has to come not from me, it has to come from the customer. They have to demand that, and that's the
Yeah.
whole goal, to be able to, and like I said, from a larger picture of things.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that I've about addressed everything I had kind of planned to talk about or ask you. Do you anything else that you'd like to touch on or say before we
Uh,
go?
no, I really enjoyed this conversation because it wasn't for me, it wasn't an advertisement on tool features or grip kits or anything like that. Hopefully, at least somebody who hasn't heard of us might look us up now, might look at some of the stuff we're trying to do. But I really enjoyed this conversation and talking about kind of where I've been, where we're going, and kind of where my life is at, and my relationship with you and with other people and with my customers. And I'm glad it was just an honest conversation. And again, I really enjoyed you coming here and visiting. I enjoy talking with you every time I see you. I consider you a friend, consider you a brother, and I appreciate you helping out, repping Fire Maul Tools, man. It's really, it helps everybody that does that. Once they put their hands on these tools, hopefully they become a rep to their own degree. But it means the world to me, because like I said, if you ask my wife if this has been worth it, we're having fun now. We are, but from a financial standpoint, we'll get there. And trust me, we've developed quite a bit of revenue, but we've reinvested almost all that revenue, to some degree. So it's been an adventure. So I just want to say I appreciate everybody who takes the time to watch a video or takes the time to listen to this podcast. I appreciate everybody that's in the fire service. I appreciate you guys wanting to kind of step outside of what is that culture of just using what we've been given. We're being told to do it this way, and that's the way we do it. And I appreciate all of us kind of innovating to that degree. So I hope we can all keep doing it together. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm sure I will, and be more than happy to talk to you anytime.
Absolutely. Awesome. I do appreciate it as well. And like you said, it's these relationships that I've been able to build through, kind of just exploring outside of my department that have really, I would almost say, saved my career and really just helped me to stretch my legs. And I really enjoyed that. So like I mentioned, you've got some videos you're putting out now, hopefully some more. Do you have a YouTube channel or just Facebook,
we do.
Instagram?
Everything's Fire Maul Tools. So your YouTube is at Fire Maul Tools, Facebook at Fire Maul Tools, Instagram. I have a TikTok. I don't know what it is. I don't use it that much.
I do too. And I tried, but I just can't do it.
Obviously our website, firemaul.com. I'm going to try doing more videos. Got some more things coming down the line because I can't help myself. Even with the products we do make, I'm always trying to make them better. So we got a newer grip kit system kind of coming out, kind of an updated version. You've seen I don't think we're gonna be able to call it Warhammer. I'd love to call it Warhammer. I think the problem is Facebook's gonna be like, you can't sell that. It's a weapon. I'm like,
Yeah, you'll get your whole page banned or something.
yeah.
Stupid.
So maybe the tech hammer. I don't know. We're still playing with it, but I hopefully exciting stuff. So I appreciate everybody that wants to tune in.
Yep. And what would you say the best way to get a hold of you if somebody's got questions or just trying to get in contact with you?
Right now, the best way is email, info@firemaul.com. That's really the best way. We will get into answering kind of social media messages when we have time, but sometimes the best way is to just info@firemaul.com. We got somebody reading those emails every day, and then we're able to process those and answer any questions you may have.
All right, perfect. And I'll say one more thing. You put in the discount code Crew First Culture, or no, I'm sorry, Crew First, CREW1ST that'll get you a little discount on your order. So
Right.
just throwing that out there for everybody as well. But again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Like you said, I appreciate the relationship that we've been able to build, and looking forward to where it's going to take us in the future. So thank you for your time, and hope you have a great day and week.
All right, brother. I thank you. I really do. I appreciate this relationship. So you have a good day, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Everybody out there, till next time, stay humble, do work.